I don't know.
Yes,
Let's try again.
Hello.
I thought someone had come for me. So, right, a big thank you for everyone who's made the effort. Even if you're just around the corner, trying to get around the M25, or whether you've come from the States. We've got people who've come from the States, from Europe, just for today. So very, very grateful. That wasn't on my list. I didn't see the list. Okay. Becky said that she told me so. I apologise. But those of you who have made it, regardless of where you come from, thank you. A few housekeeping things. We're not expecting any sort of fire drill, anything like that. But if there is, you just go out through those doors right behind you. Please go to the car park where we have a list. Your names have been ticked off. Don't disappear to the chip shop because I'll have to come back in and find you. So once your name's been ticked off, then we'll see where we go. I don't expect anything, but that's the rules. You know where the toilets are? The restrooms are over here. You do not have to pay anything today. The food and drink have been provided, and I'm going to say thank you for that in a moment. So we've not brought any money. Right, overview of the day. I'm just going to say 3 or 4 minutes worth of introduction, and then I'm going to pass over to Becky, and she's going to do a PowerPoint presentation, which is great because I'm the one that always does the presentations. So for me, it's a bit of a holiday, really. So that's going to be about the structure of CC, how we are, where we've come from. It's very important. Those of you who do not want to be in any video, any filming, what I'm going to do is ask you to be on the end table. In the afternoon we're going to break and you're going to go into your groups. If you do not wish to be filmed, then go on the end table and we'll sort that out. Okay, make sure that those of you who do not wish to be on the picture, we'll make that happen for you. Alright, okay. So we thank Ranjit and her family for the wonderful use of this venue. You've already appreciated the fact that there's been no charge. For 20 years I didn't live in London, and it was very apparent the London-centric control system, and I just needed to say a few words why we're back in London, and the reason is simply because of the venue. I could not find a venue of a suitable size that was reasonably priced. And what I would ask is that in future, let's have a real go with the coordinators, see if we can find a venue outside of London. I always envisaged going into the Midlands, into the north, to Wales, Scotland and Ireland. I wanted to move around, and the reason that we are in London is simply because we haven't been able to find a suitable place. That's why. Okay. So I want to make that clear. It's not that we're wedded to London. All right. Are there any questions? Has anybody lost their luggage in the airport or anything like that? No? Fine. All right. Okay. Well, what we're going to do now, I'm going to hand over to Becky, and she's going to lead you through it. I've got a gentleman, Ian, who's here today, and Ian has written some very, very good spiritual books, and in fact Becky has been very good to read them. And Ian's brought some books, and if you would like to buy them, he's going to be over on the table that's got the little yellow cover on it and a chair at lunchtime. And if you'd like to buy a book, then that's absolutely fine. Are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Now I really hope that I'm not going to have any feedback, because the first thing that I want to do... Oh yeah, before we start, please can you all switch your phones off or put them on airplane mode? We're quite aware of the level of EMFs in the room, so thank you very much. And it's wonderful to see you all here. I think I've written to each and every one of you. I hope I have, I meant to. It really is fantastic to see such a wonderful turnout, and having members turn up and coordinators turn up from other countries is really, really fantastic. Thank you for your support. So firstly, before I begin my short talk, I wanted to welcome you all with a guided meditation. And this is based on Deepak Chopra's heart-centered meditation. Let's begin by sitting in a comfortable position and close or lower your eyes. For all of us have had our own unique journey here, mixed with excitement, apprehension, maybe even frustration or stress, and a few wrong turnings around Heathrow Airport. And let that all go now. You're here, exactly where you're meant to be. From this moment, let go of your thoughts and the outside world. And take a deep breath in and out, releasing any tension within you. And another breath in and out, relaxing your shoulders. And a third deep breath in and out. Let your breathing settle into a comfortable rhythm and flow as you focus your attention on your spiritual heart center in the middle of your chest. And become aware of your heart as a space. The heart centre is a point of awareness where feelings enter. In its essence, the heart is pure emptiness, peaceful, with a subtle light. Sense your breath flowing into your heart. You may wish to visualise a soft pastel light. Let your breath flow in and out. And as it does, ask your heart what it needs to say. Just have the faint intention that you want your heart to express itself. Take this opportunity to connect with your heart. You are learning to be with your heart in order to heed its spiritual meaning, and this is meditation. You are letting repressed material come up to be released. This is purification. You are listening to your heart without judgment. This is attention. And know that your heart centre is connected through spirit, essence, all that is, to everyone else's heart centre. And now, becoming aware of your breathing, bring yourself slowly back into your body, wiggle your fingers, gently bring your awareness back into the room. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And you may wish to look at your neighbour sitting next to you and smile and say hello. Hello. Okay, silence again. Okay, that must mean it's time for my talk. Okay. Oh, I've clicked the wrong button. I did the left one. There we go, it works. This is my first PowerPoint presentation, by the way, so yeah. In my talk, I wanted to share with you all some of Connecting Consciousness's progress from a structural point of view over the last year. And putting this into context, we had our first AGM here in this venue, actually in the room over there, and it's absolutely wonderful to be back here again today. And by this time last year we had about 110 people attend, and today we've had, well, I believe it was up to 175, and then I had a few last minute, I can't come for whatever reason, but I think we're up to about 160 members here at least, which is amazing. So well done everybody. And so by this time last year, built up over the last 2.5 years, we did have a very active international coordinator group with coordinators from the US and Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and a lot of European and Scandinavian countries and South America. But within the UK, we just had 3 Connecting Conscience groups. We had Ireland, which is North and South Ireland together, and we had a small group in Devon, and the London group that was meeting up every week. But we had members last year attend this meeting from all over the UK, and on my table that I facilitated last year, we had 7 members from Scotland, and I thought, I've got to get these guys connected, I've got to get them talking. So it was my first priority when we got back for me to set up, to find coordinators for Scotland and Wales, and lots of regional coordinators for England, and that's what we've done. So now we've managed to connect the over 1,000 CC members who are all isolated and have been connected to members within their own region through your local coordinators. And on an international scale, we've had new coordinators for the US, and we've got new coordinators for Canada soon, and new coordinators from Ecuador, Finland, Denmark, lots and lots of international coordinators, which is fantastic. Okay. So, you may be wondering how to become a coordinator. So I've put this on the slide. When a CC member shows an interest in the coordinator role, I arrange a Skype chat with them, and coordinators do need to be in alignment with our CC values. Coordinators do need good facilitation skills. You'll be working with a group of people, and while you may have your own specific interests or strong points of view, when you're managing a group of people, it's good to be able to show a balanced point of view, especially when you're managing Skype chats or meetings in person. Obviously, good to have some good social media skills, so just being able to be admin on the social media group that your group is working with, or know how to be confident sending out emails, things like that. Our coordinators meet once a month on Zoom with other international or regional coordinators. So we have 2 meetings a month, one for our international coordinators and one for our regional coordinators. And in those meetings is a chance for the coordinators to catch up with each other and Simon and me, and just let us know how it's gone for them that month, and if they've got any specific questions they want to ask us or the other coordinators. It's a good chance to catch up, and we find those meetings really valuable. I put my mouse down again, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so coordinators connect initially via email to all their country or regional members to introduce themselves. We always ask coordinators to blind carbon copy members' emails in so that other members can't see each other's emails, because to start off with, people still like to keep their privacy. Coordinators arrange Zoom or Skype meetings, oversee chat groups, and these were and still are Facebook, Skype, chat, WhatsApp, but we'll soon be moving to MeWe Pro, so I'll tell you more about that soon. And coordinators arrange meetings in person for their members, be it weekly, as in London, or monthly, or once every 2 months, or whatever is works for the group. Sometimes just once every 6 months or once a year, depending on how big your country or region is. this should go without saying, but we will say it, is that coordinators have support from and connection with Simon and me, and all the other coordinators. Coordinators keep their membership data private. We ask our coordinators to sign our Coordinators Pledge, which is an ethical, not a legal document. It's to just protect membership data. Some of our regions or countries have 2 or more coordinators, which to share the role, play to their strengths. Someone might be better on the online side and someone might prefer to arrange meetings in person. In Wales, we've got 3 coordinators, which is great. So, moving on to why we're going to be moving to MeWe Pro as our social platform. At the moment, we've been using, as I've said before, Facebook, Skype chat, WhatsApp, whatever the group chooses. But we are losing out on a lot of members who, for very good reason, decide they don't want to go on social media because it's not private. So Simon set us the task of finding a social media platform which was better for our CC members, and Tana and I came up with MeWe Pro because it's encrypted privacy and protection for all member data, chats and posts, and it's on one platform. It is a private CC platform and does have no ads or data mining, and it's free for all CC members. And it's a bit like a forum, it's a bit like an enormous building, lots of different rooms, and the way I'm setting it up at the moment, because it's under creation at the moment, within WhatsApp Pro, I'm creating our CC space. And I'm creating a private country group, so you'll be invited to your own private country or regional group. But then it's going to have lots of open groups, which will be open to all CC members around the world, and will be on topics that you're interested in. So let us know what you're interested in. It could be geopolitical news, permaculture, healing, all sorts of things. Music, poetry. Can set up topics on anything.
Flying saucers. Flying saucers.
Flying saucers, of course. Okay, moving on to our membership numbers. Now, this is actually already out of date because I actually took this data from the end of August, and we already have over 5,000 members. Now, these are active members. Over the last year, we've had a big change. We've stopped using our old database and starting to create a new database which can cope with growing numbers of members. And these are all the active members who've responded back to us and said they're still interested in being a CC member. And this number is growing very quickly. We get on average about between 50 and 100 applications a week after Simon does an interview or a podcast or something where he talks about connecting consciousness. We can have a huge influx of new members. We have members now in 94 countries because we had a new member from Namibia in South Africa just this week. So starting with our WISE group, which is Wales, Ireland, Scotland and England, otherwise known as the UK. In Wales, now remember this is about 3 weeks old, this data. In Wales, 39 members, Ireland, 83, Scotland, 58, and England, 743. That is actually over 800 already. And now you can see why we've got regional coordinators, because with a membership like this within England, it enables us to have smaller regions of members who can meet up in person, which is one of the main social aims of connecting consciousness. In Canada, 341 members. We've got coordinators that are French-speaking and English-speaking. Our previous, that's a better word, coordinator for Canada just stepped down recently, so we put out a newsletter to all Canadian membership and have had really positive feedback. Around about 20 people have said they're interested in becoming a coordinator. So that's one of our next jobs, to speak with them all, and hopefully we can have quite a few new coordinators because of the high membership and huge area that it is. USA, we have almost 2,000 members in the USA now. Pleased to say we've got members in every single state. Some states, like California, Florida, have many hundred members. And our new US coordinator is here today. She'll be introducing herself soon. Hi, Tana. Okay, so moving on to Central America. Costa Rica 11, Guatemala 4, Mexico 39, and Panama 2. We will be contacting Mexico very soon to see if we can find a coordinator for our Mexican membership. We will be starting, when we're looking for new coordinators, obviously we'll be trying to choose the countries that have the highest membership first. But also, as an aside, once we've got MeWe Pro up and running and everybody in, then that'll give a chance for all our members worldwide to connect with each other anyway. So in South America, we have a South American coordinator who who connects with members from all countries, but she's based in Argentina. We will have a brand new coordinator for Ecuador, as well as of a couple of weeks ago. So Argentina 7, Bolivia 1, Brazil 17, sounds like I'm reading out scores, Chile 13, Colombia 18, Ecuador 15, Paraguay 1, Peru 5, and Venezuela 2. Central European membership, Austria 51, again another country with no coordinator, Belgium 23, France 51, Germany 227, Netherlands 113, and Switzerland 59. In Switzerland we have usually have 3 coordinators, one French-speaking, one German-speaking, and one Italian-speaking. Our French coordinator is also our Belgian coordinator and Luxembourg coordinator, because she lives on the border. In Germany, the Germany group has become very active over the last couple of years, and now the German coordinator is looking for regional coordinators. So they're setting up regional groups in Germany. And also the membership, one of the reasons the membership is high is that a couple of the German members translate some of Simon's work and his podcasts and interviews into German, so it's reaching German-speaking people now, as well as just the English-speaking people. Northern Europe, Iceland 7, Denmark 42, Latvia 6, Estonia 7, Finland 23, Norway 43, Sweden 105. I met with a gentleman who's come from Norway today, and he is interested in becoming the new Norwegian coordinator. So that's brilliant. Hopefully he'll still be interested after this talk. Oh, and I forgot to say that our Swedish coordinator is here. She's come all the way from Sweden. And hi, Susan. And you'll be meeting her in your group work. South Euro-Mediterranean membership. Andorra 1, Italy 18, Malta 5, Portugal 17, Spain 72, Greece 11, and Cyprus 2. Our Spanish coordinator, Louis, for a couple of years had only 8 members, and then Louis thought, what can he do to increase the membership? And he contacted a local radio station and said, would you like to interview Simon, and I'll do translations. And that worked, and the membership went right up. And so we have quite an active Spanish Facebook group as well, which is in Spanish and English. Greece, we have a new Greek coordinator who's been a coordinator for a few months now. And as you see, we have 11 members, and they're literally dotted over all the islands. So she's got her work cut out trying to get everyone to meet up. I can't read the top of that. I think it says North Eastern Europe. Latvia 6, Russia 8, Hungary 11, Lithuania 2, Poland 24, Slovakia 3, and the Czech Republic 8. You may be surprised to see that Russia only has 8, given its huge population, and the fact that Simon's done a few interviews now for Russia Today, and including the Russian part of that, where his interview was translated into Russian and showed to about 3 million people. but maybe they haven't connected Simon with connecting consciousness. I'm not sure. Okay, Southeastern European membership. Albania 1, Bulgaria 9, Croatia 5, Slovenia 7, Romania 15 and Serbia 5. As at the moment we don't have any members in these countries, any coordinators in these countries. Moving on to Oceania membership. That's my dyslexia kicking in. Oceania membership. We have a big membership in Australia with a very active Australian coordinator who creates huge meetings in Sydney and also is very active 5G fighter. He's had some big success. I think Simon's going to be talking about Will's success in Australia later. New Zealand 76 members and Tonga 1. Middle Eastern membership. Iran 2, Iraq 1, Israel 9, Kuwait 1, Qatar 2, Saudi Arabia 3, Turkey 13, United Arab Emirates 6 and Yemen 1. So we're even reaching members in the Middle East. Far Eastern, China 10, Hong Kong 12, Japan 11, South Korea 1 and Taiwan 4. We did have someone apply to be the China coordinator and he gave some serious thought, but he found it, he thought after consideration that it might be a difficult thing for him to do. But we have a Japanese coordinator who lives in London and travels to Japan once or twice a year and arranges meetings in Tokyo, where most of the membership is. In South Asia, we have in Bangladesh 1, India 22 and Pakistan 4. And just last night I got an email from someone in India who'd been following Simon for several years and would really like to become the Indian coordinator. So I'm going to connect with them next week. It would be fantastic to have an Indian coordinator. Asian membership, Cambodia 1, Indonesia 3, Malaysia 4, Philippines 8, Singapore 8, and Thailand 10, and Vietnam 2. Again, no coordinators as yet. Northern African membership, we've got, as you can see, we've got even 1 or 2 members in North African countries. Moving to South African region, we have 53 members in South Africa. And we have a new coordinator for South Africa as well, a lady who is actually our Scottish coordinator, lives in Scotland, but is South African and has lived there for most of her life. So she's offered to be our South African coordinator, which is fabulous. And our island nation membership from around the world, we have 13 plus members from little islands around the world, including Mauritius, Jersey, Jamaica, St. Vincent and Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, and French Polynesia. Again, it would be great to get these people connected with other CC members on Maybe Pro. Okay, so coming to the end of my talk, our aims for connecting consciousness, well, my aims from a structural point of view in how to build up connecting consciousness is to find, interview and appoint coordinators for all countries with CC members, for coordinators for all US states, regional coordinators for all countries with large or widespread membership, get MiWi Pro up and running so with every CC member having access to it and through it to all other CC members worldwide. The overall aim or outcome is for all CC members to be connected, even those on the remotest islands. And another big aim of Simon's and mine is to have a Connecting Consciousness Healing Centre in the UK and US to start with, so we can start putting our roots down in buildings. And just final slide. In Connecting Consciousness, we have the opportunity to heal the shared wounds of humanity when we reach for our own highest spiritual expression. As a collective force, we help contribute towards raising both our individual vibration and that of the earth to a higher level of spiritual consciousness. So thank you very much. And I'd like to now introduce you all to our fantastic coordinators who are here with us today. Would you coordinators please like to come up to the front so that you can introduce yourselves very briefly to the audience here and our viewers at home. I'll hand the mic over to you first, Julie.
All right, okay. I'm Julie Phelps and I'm the Northwest Coordinator. Okay.
And Julie's come all the way over from Canada about yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I'm
yes.
jet lagged.
So she's a bit jet lagged. But thank you for coming here, Julie, and for staying here as well. Okay.
Hi everybody, my name's John Kane and I'm one of the Welsh coordinators. I'll pass you over to Mike.
Hello, I'm Michael Parish. I'm the second of the three coordinators. Unfortunately, my wife, Deborah, cannot be with us today, but she sends her blessings and she's with us in spirit.
I'm Imogen and this is Charles, and together we're coordinators for East Midlands, which ranges from Nottinghamshire, a bit of Lincolnshire, Leicestershire, Derbyshire, quite a big job.
Hello, my name's Charles and I think Imogen said the rest, so nice to meet you.
Hello, this is East Region here, and I'm Carolyn, and I'm kind of in Kent and Sussex area.
Hello, and I'm Rebecca Holmes, and also Service Coordinator, living in Buckinghamshire.
Hi, I'm David from Devon, and I'm the Southwest Coordinator.
Hello, I'm Ali, and I'm looking after the Upper Southwest area.
I'm Bernie, and I'm helping Deb look after the West Midlands area. And I have to tell you, it's a fabulous job. Please apply to be a coordinator.
Hello, I'm Susan from Sweden. So, Sweden and Scandinavia is hello to you all, and so love to all of you.
Hi, I'm Ranjit. I'm the coordinator for London.
Hang on a minute. Hi everybody, I'm
Typical American.
I'm the coordinator for England and the West Midlands. If you haven't actually seen me and have me tick you off the list, please come back and find me and I'll put you on, because I think there's people here that I haven't actually said hello to yet, and I'm holding the list for everybody here today, so thank you very much. There is something I've been asked to share. It's all about our sense of wealth and our personal capital, and that there's more than money and financial capital that's all available to us. There's things like our experience and our knowledge and our love for other people and how everybody else loves us, and lots of other things as well, which I really can't remember, but I would love to share with you, and I will do at some point. But I hear it's on the notice board. It's on the notice board. Hang on a sec. I'll go for the main titles here. So we've got 8 forms of capital. There's our living capital, which is the nature that's around us, the animals, plants, healthy soil, and clean water. So important. There's of course the financial capital of the money and financial investments and property. And there's our material capital too, not to mention our experience and our social capital, which we really value here within Connecting Consciousness, which is all our connections and influences that we have on our Connecting Conscious communities and now reaching out elsewhere to where we are in our own communities. We have our intellectual capital and our spiritual capital. Although we express it differently within our different religions and our different ways of doing it, we are all aiming for the idea of reaching spiritual attainment through prayer and good karma. And then of course there's our cultural capital, and it's a pet of mine now. I really want to help develop the culture of Connecting Consciousness, and I'll be trying to putting some questions out to everybody. That's an ongoing aim of mine, that being actually developed our own connecting consciousness culture and what it means for all of us to be a part of CC. So thank you.
I'm Tona Lee. I'm the overly helpful U.S. coordinator. And I just wanted to leave one thing that I gleaned through my hippie years traveling through India, and that was a saying by a very fine spiritual teacher there called Nisargadatta. And he said, we do have a capital that's endowed within each of us when we're born, and that's the capital of our being, of our presence, of our I am here now-ness. And we can pay attention to a lot of things. When we pay attention to that beingness, we return our interest to our capital and grow it. Instead of squandering our interest on frets about the past or frets about the future, we grow it until our beingness becomes so open and rarefied that we become like a hollow flute through which the breath of God's source can play beautiful music.
Thank you all so much. Oh, sorry, one more.
Name's Ian, northeast of England, from South Hull, basically up to the Scottish borders, across to Ripon, roughly.
Yeah.
And there are 3 of us here today. Thank you, Blair, for doing the drive all the way down. 4. And then perhaps Amanda, we could have a talk later. I emailed you yesterday or the day before, so thank you. Oh, and I'm the Ian that Simon mentioned, who has some books. I'll be sat over there later on. It'd be lovely to talk to people about them, why I wrote them and what they're all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. Yeah, I have read both of Ian's books, and I think that they're really very good. They're full of information that a lot of you here will know today, but it's lovely to read it, and it's confirmation. Thank you to absolutely all our coordinators who are here today. It's so lovely to meet some of you for the first time, which is weird because I've spoken to you for years on Zoom and Skype and emails and so on. Thank you. Special thanks to say to Tana and Debs for helping me with some of the technical side of this presentation. Okay, I'll hand you back over to Simon. Oh, yeah, if the coordinators are okay to move back to your seats. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This never was a conference, so it was about us. And one of the best ways to get that message across is to actually show what connecting consciousness is. When we join an organisation, we join perhaps for many different reasons. But this was the first opportunity we had to show you what you've actually joined. Now this is going to be filmed and it's on, or will be on YouTube, and give people a real understanding of the structure. And 10 years ago when I envisaged this, I envisaged 3 phases, 1, 2 and 3, so it wasn't particularly complicated. We're on phase 2. Phase 2 is the growing of the structure so that as we increase the membership, we have the capability to manage it. And nobody pays entrance fee. You don't pay to be a member of Connecting Consciousness. This is perhaps unique. Not totally unique, but let's just be very proud of the fact that we didn't go down the road of charging you money to be a member. And that's why when you listen, and I hope some of you do, listen to the radio shows or the podcasts, I don't charge for that information. There are lots of people that do, and I'm not going to get into an argument, but there are the normal rule of thumb is that if you want information, you pay for it. That's, to be honest with you, is what the elite do, isn't it? The more money you have, the more information you have, and therefore the better informed you are. And that seems to fly in the face of what I wanted to create, was connecting consciousness. So if people give donations, that's an exchange of energy, that's absolutely fine. And if anybody wants to donate today a couple of quid, that's absolutely fine. There'll be a little cardboard box on the side there, and that's up to you. You don't have to do that. It's not a church. Okay, you're not frowned at if the plate comes round and you don't put any money on it. If we understand what money is, it's a Babylonian spell, and I was absolutely determined to keep that out because it corrupts. It absolutely corrupts. And we're not going to have it. Right. Is it my talk now? Is it my talk now?
Your talk now.
Okay, so apparently it's my talk now, so whatever that is. When we come back from lunch, a really lovely lady, Jan, is going to give you a short presentation. She is electrosensitive, and because we've campaigned against 5G, it's very important, I think, that you hear her story. There are 5G signals active in this area. They're on very low output. I myself have a headache. Many of you probably have got it. We've come from an area where 5G is not active, although the masts are out there, but in this area it's already on. It's at very low intensity, but nevertheless many of you will feel it. So what I want to do is to just give you an update in terms of phase 3. Phase 3 is the belief that we will create a healing centre. Originally I just wanted it in the UK, but it looks like now we probably have one in the US and the UK. A healing centre is everything from perhaps what you might expect right through to working deprogramming with perhaps people coming out from Hollywood or any of those other areas where perhaps they've escaped some form of abuse and they want help, but of course the medical system just wants to push tablets down their throat. I am still hopeful. I'm hopeful of travelling to the United States early next year, or possibly later this year. And that's quite an important point. I hope to be making some very useful connections which will allow us to do what we need to do. So more of that nearer the time. I think there are two major countries that need to see some change and development. And clearly I'm not going to talk about the political situation in Britain. It's become so difficult now that it's very hard to see how any domestic policy can go through at the moment. It's very, very hard. So the two countries that perhaps have got the most to develop are both the US and Britain. So that's important. Healing Centre is a creation of a physical reality within a physical world. And you have a physical world, you need the energy and you need the physicality. Those of you who've listened to me before know that I've talked about certain people with a very good heart who've tried to bring change to the planet, and as soon as they went down the physical road, it got taken away from them. The way I've started this is to start with your higher selves, your energy, to create that rock, that anchor, so that we're building on that. So to come at it the other way would be like building a bank. You build a bank, you fill it full of cash, and you open the doors and you get the customers in. So what we're doing is we're saying we want the people first, and we'll build on top of that. And that's a uniquely different way of approaching this. Let's talk about 5G then. I have been approached by somebody who has a device, and I was very hopeful to be able to share that with you. That's not become possible. There are a group of scientists who are not from this country who have a portable device, and a number of us have been asked to trial this, and I've been chosen to trial it. Haven't received it yet. This device throws out a protection maybe 5 meters when it's portable, maybe 20 meters when it's plugged into your house. It's not coming from the sort of controlled deep state Kabbalist group. It's coming from a very separate group. We'll be seeing the empirical scientific evidence. I myself will trial it. Now, we won't sell it, but we will act as a conduit for it. I insisted, and I think it was already agreed by the organisers, that it had to be the price that people could afford to pay. I think it's about $200. And that is a real defence mechanism. If it works, as we hope it will do, That's a real defence mechanism. And the reason that connecting consciousness has been chosen is because we can't be corrupted. There's no good giving it to a retail outlet store, because their friend will just phone them and say, pull that product, don't do it. Well, they can't do that to us. So we'll be an outlet. So if people want it, they'll presumably email in. I don't even know how it'll work yet. I haven't checked into that. But they would email in probably to Becky, and then Becky would then post it out to you. That's a very, very exciting opportunity. And I have said on my radio shows, the only people that I'm not concerned about are those in the US. My understanding of what's going on in the White House at the moment is that they're very clearly aware of some of the dangers of 5G. I think also what's come to our aid is simply that China is heavily involved with the technology of 5G, and China's not very flavour of the month at the moment. Becky, during her presentation, she just made a mistake about Argentina. She said 7 members, actually there are 17 members. In terms of Australia, Will has had some excellent success. Will is the coordinator for Australia, the overall coordinator, and has been able to use domestic violence laws within Australia to have 5,000 5G masts taken down. 5,000. Because in Australia it was capable to show that domestic violence was being imported into the house through this, and it was affecting the family. So what Will letting me know is that the next phase, of course, is satellites. This is a real interesting one. 5G is being beamed, or will be beamed, by satellites. And the last conversation I had with Will was that he felt that their lawyer, who's working with them, felt that it would be possible to use the same legislation. Now, that's a minefield, but it's very interesting. So what we have to do is we have to work with the laws within our country. Here in Britain, unfortunately, those laws are written against the people. Those laws have been written in such a way as, you can't legally challenge them. You can't challenge and say that your health will be affected, because the court will say we don't have any jurisdiction on that. That's nothing for us. So each coordinator in his or her country is looking at their laws to see how they can use it. So there's no 5G in Sydney at the moment. This is very interesting. There may be the odd 1 or 2 bits, but legally there shouldn't be any now. That's done. We know that France has refused 5G in all schools. Poland has stopped 5G. And we'd have to ask ourselves, not what do these people know, but why is it that some country leaders are strong enough to throw this out and others are not? So it's about connections. It's about the influence that certain people have in certain countries. So until somebody can come to us and show that 5G is perfectly safe and show us all the tests that have been done, I am not convinced of it. And so we are actively against 5G simply because there isn't the empirical evidence to show what it does. We also know from the work that a lot of pioneers have done to bring the truth out, that this was potentially weaponised. I cannot think in my short lifetime of any initiative over the planet that has been steamrolled out to the extent that trees are being chopped down. And one arm of the council isn't even aware that another arm of the council has chopped the trees down, and when questioned, the reply is because they will affect 5G. And when you say, well, who authorised it? Well, we honestly don't know. And that's a fact. So for a global situation to occur means there's a global organisation at work. I am not 20. Maybe if I was 20, it would bother me that a film could be downloaded 3 seconds faster with 5G than with 4G. I think that, to be honest with you, particularly the young people are being led to believe that this is something very useful and very special. The reality is, of course, that the ordinary phones that we have won't pick up 5G. You've got to go and buy a new one anyway. So you can see that it's just part of the programme to make money and control the population. So we're very clear on 5G. Until someone comes to us, our position is we think it's negative. I'll make that very clear. In terms of the situation globally, I'm very confident that we will see, I don't like the word reset, This was a very popular word some years ago. But I think there'll be some form of calibration, some form of change. Those of you who have caught up with the news, the European Central Bank have just started to release money because they're foretelling a crash coming. So the money is being printed literally as it was during the Lehman crisis. The European Central Bank now predicting a financial crash in Europe. And that's coming from the bankers themselves. So we need to watch for that very carefully. In terms of what I need you to do is to keep growing, support yourselves. When I had this vision 10 years ago, what I wanted was a group of people who would be strong during any upset or any turmoil. I wanted a group of people who shared, weren't judgmental. It doesn't matter whether your neighbour has this interest or that interest, you have a spiritual path. And it was about showing people that we can actually work together and we can be as one, in the true sense of the word, and not to feel that we are odd or strange or crazy, but that we are different. But we're the new different. Because really and truly, this is how all people should be. And if we took away all the control systems, this is exactly how people would be. But until those changes occur, I'm afraid money is valued by these organisations as greater than people. I just still don't understand on this planet how a person can be valued by the amount of money. And you see it with children. I've done this before on the radio show, and I'll do it now. It was 3 years ago, and I was in Whitby, and she can only have been 3.5 years old, came out of a sweet shop, screaming at the typical what you'd call toddler tantrum, stamping her foot. And I thought she was saying, "Mummy, mummy, mummy," and that made perfect sense to me. But it wasn't. It was the word money, 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 because she wanted sweets, and Dad or whoever wouldn't let her buy the sweets. And she knew at the age of 3 that she could get sweets either by stealing them, I suppose, but what she knew is money buys sweets. So if you understand that at 3 years old, she's already locked into this vision that if I want something, I have to have money. Then you understand why these people who haven't broken free actually exist to make money. And they exist to have, no disrespect, but they exist to have the holiday. I'm going to have the holiday. I'm going to go to wherever it is. And I've been successful because I've had a holiday. Or I've bought a new television. And I must be special. I must be good. I've bought that. And then they'll go and they'll buy these magazines, or they'll see things on television, and they'll see these hugely wealthy people. Maybe they're footballers. And I just don't understand. Somebody on 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 a year will pay a season ticket to watch a man or men earning 100 to 150,000 pounds a week kicking a football around. And I look at people and I say, do you not understand how you are being manipulated and used? But that's what consciousness is about. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be challenging and learning. And so you can model your belief and the belief of connecting consciousness. I don't care whether you're in the store, whether you're in the railway station, wherever it is, act as you would want to be acted on. So give that impression. You don't want to ram it down your throat, people's throats. You're not there to convince them. But if you're ever asked your opinion, then give it in a way that challenges the status quo. That's really important. Now I'm going to bring this to an end now. We're going to break for some lunch. And then when you've had your lunch, now that's 3:45, is it?
I think close to 4 now.
Alright, closer to 4 o'clock. So let's please be finished at 4 o'clock. What I'd like you to do at 4 o'clock is come and resume your seats. Jan is going to come and do a little talk. That's very important. I invited her here specifically to do that. And then over to my right are the tables, and I'd like you to go and sit at these round tables here. Those of you who are in your groups, your regional groups, then you can stick together, or if you're a bit short of a group, you can pinch some people from somewhere else. And your coordinator is going to come and sit with you, and you're going to have sheets. And the coordinators have some questions to ask you. and you're going to work through those questions, because this is not a top-down organisation. I tend to try and create this organisation based on what you want. So you're going to have questions saying, what is a priority for connecting consciousness? And you are going to have your opportunity to push forward your agenda. Now last year we did this, and we were able to, not in total, but we were in some ways able to grow it. One of the big feedbacks was to increase the membership in the UK. And as Becky said, we had a very small membership. We've done that now. I'm incredibly proud of what Becky's done, and I'm incredibly proud of the coordinators. I'm incredibly proud of you, because you have stood firm against all the pressures and all the controlling elements that are around us every day, and that's vitally important. So you're going to work in your groups, and you're going to answer the question, and then you're going to have an opportunity to say where you think we need to go. When that's done, your coordinator is going to photograph on plastic sheets, photograph that. They're going to be emailed across to Becky. And Becky and I, over the next few weeks, can look at that and work on it. And those sheets will then be brought up, and they're going to be stuck around on these pillars. You're going to have a coffee break, tea break, and I really want you to come up and read what other groups have said. These are on plastic sheeting. Don't touch it, because you're going to smudge it. All right, so this is really about forming the creational force of connecting consciousness. It's about you telling me where we go with this. In terms of structure, once we've completed phase 2, phase 3 is really about the buildings. And then we're going to actually have a managerial committee. I need people who are going to be on a management group. If you're going to have buildings, they've got to be managed. We're not going to have the typical accountants and bank managers. There'll be no stocks and shares. I'm not going to have anything like that at all. We're going to keep this as pure and as spiritual as possible. If we can take evil money and make good things out of it, then that's exactly what we'll do. But no way are we going to be corrupted. I'll just finish by saying that in 2015, I organised my one and only conference. It wasn't a group, it was a conference. And I wasn't the only person, because Tana put me right. But what happened was that I shared with the membership exactly how much I was being charged for the rent of the hall, how much the food was, and how much money I got in, because I had to charge people, I think it was £15. So £15 for teas and coffees in the morning, a hot meal at lunchtime, and teas and coffees in the afternoon, and everything else. And we had literally £200 left, and I then shared that £200 out with the volunteers who would help me, from the guy out in the car park to everything else. Now that wasn't because I wanted to show you how pious I was. It was because I wanted to put pressure on everybody else who ran a conference to say, look, I'm showing the audience exactly how much they paid and what I've paid. Because you and I both know that most conferences are money making. They make hundreds, and in the United States they make thousands of dollars from conferences. For me, that's not what this is about. And so this is what we do, is if we can get things up and running, we model it. And then we reflect back to unawake and unaware people and say, this is how we've run this. It could be a school. It could be the refuse collection. Doesn't matter what it is, but we're going to go into those fields at some point, and we're going to actually say, this is how we run it. Now you compare that with how you're having yours run at the moment. And the first thing they'll say is, well, how are you doing it? And I'll say, because there's no foreign holidays, because there isn't a yacht, because there isn't a second home, because we're not paying dividends to stock shares. And that's the difference. It's either the people for the people, or it's the people being robbed by the people. So I know where we are. So all right, I'm going to stop now. Have I forgotten anything? Does that really know? Right, so thank you very much. We're going to break for lunch now. I don't know what the routine is, but someone will tell us. Ranjit will tell us. Where's Ranjit? Come and tell us what happens for lunch. Yeah.
Just been in the kitchen. They actually haven't put the food out yet, so if we've got about another 10 minutes or so.
What do you want to do for 10 minutes? Do you just want to have a stop and a chat? What would you like? Q&A. Who's shouting? All right. Tana is American. She's come over. She's had a 6-month visa. They nearly didn't let her in, and that's the truth. She's here. Thank you ever so much. You were meant to be here, and she's going back in a couple of weeks' time back to America to carry on her role as the US coordinator. Very important that she was here. Can I share the truth with them? Oh my gosh. The truth is that I didn't ask her to come over. She just jumped on the aeroplane and decided that she would come over and be of service. And that's the truth. Now that's exactly what it is. I'm happy to do a quick Q&A, and then on the schedule behind us, well, it's not there now, but there is a Q&A a bit later. But just to, buy time for the lunch. We're going to have a microphone over here. Can we have a spare mic? And it can go around the houses, can't it?
I was thinking as well about sitting in a group workout.
How do we do this? Does that work, that one? It's near your hands now. The squealing. No, it's because it's near your unit.
Okay,
There's a mouse in that one.
Are there hollow people? People without souls, empty people. That's a topic we've been discussing in the latest days. And they asked me to ask you, so I'll ask you.
Alright, so anyone who didn't hear that, the term there is hollow people, which sounds like what we are at the moment waiting for our lunch. But I think what we really mean is without a soul. The answer is yes, but incredibly small numbers. You have to completely have 24/7, 100% control of those individuals, because if you don't have a control of them electronically or psychically, they will just physically die. So you have to mimic the reality, you have to mimic in the brain of the person that they have a soul. That's the trick of it. So the individual thinks they have a soul, so their brain thinks they're operating normally. If you were to show them they weren't, they would just physically switch off. Okay, so that's the point. Numbers, you're just talking a few hundred. Very, very few. That's humans. Remember that there are a number of greys that do not require a soul, and the comments are hive mind, which isn't really very accurate, but you know what I mean by that. Very important if you want to space travel, because then you don't feel, you don't have emotions. So you imagine being on a camel travelling over the desert, and some of you might have done that for many days. If you don't have a soul, you don't have any emotion. It makes no difference to you. So it's very important for the greys, creators, that their creations didn't have a soul, because their whole job was to spend hundreds of years in spacecraft. But in terms on the planet, this is part of an experiment which is the highest development of cloning. Most clones contain a soul. Okay, I hope that's helpful for your group. Oh. Hello. Yeah.
I've got an autoimmune disease, and so I take colloidal silver, which is a metal, and with the 5G, am I going to light up like a Christmas tree?
So the question there was, Christmas is coming. If you have a disease and you're taking medication that has something with a metallic element to it, the answer is no. 5G waves are not designed to operate like that. So it won't. That's not the damage that you would take. 5G is not going to affect on something like that. No. Okay. Hi.
When is the European Central Bank planning this recession? Is this anything to do with Brexit?
Indirectly, yes. The question about the European Central Bank, the fact is they've already started printing the money. We don't want to get into an argument. It's about you're either pro-Trump or you're anti-Trump, you're either pro-Brexit or you're against Brexit. The reality of the situation is, regardless of your political position on that, Britain was known and is known as the treasure chest of Europe. That's the joke. Britain always paid in more than it got out of it, as opposed to Ireland that gets out of it more than it pays in. And so this is it, there are winners and losers. with Britain out of Europe, every other member state is going to have to find more money to fill the gap. That is going to cause a depression. The depression won't be in Britain. I'm old enough to remember going into a supermarket in the early 1970s and buying apples. And they were British apples. Now you go into a supermarket, they'll only be of a certain size, a certain colour, and smooth without indentations. Now when we leave Europe, there are going to be husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, parents and children who can now start up small businesses without European rules saying that carrot isn't straight enough or that doesn't look the right colour. That's the reality of it. So we're going to have a renaissance in Britain over the next 25 years of indigenous people creating products to sell predominantly to non-European countries because they won't be prescribed by those rules and regulations. Now with Britain out, Europe is going to really struggle, first of all financially and secondly politically. Because if Britain finally, and it will do at some point, breaks free, that's my terminology, you're going to have countries like Greece and Italy who are going to seriously look at the possibility of breaking free. So it was something that was never supposed to happen, but did, and it's part of consciousness. Consciousness did that. This would never have happened 20 years ago. Okay, look at Jeffrey Epstein. That truth would never have come out 5 years ago. So this is because consciousness is outstripping the evil's ability to hold it all down. So, money laundering now. Australia.
Hi, Simon. What's your explanation of consciousness?
My explanation of consciousness is the individual thought and existence which then finds the like key with others and joins with it and magnifies it. So a very long time ago, when there were very few humans on the planet, consciousness was in pockets. Literally, you could look at cities and it would have a consciousness envelope over it. But as humanity spread throughout the planet, never mind the stars, let's talk about Britain and the rest of the world, as consciousness grew, it was because humanity grew, but only humans who were connecting with each other. There are a number of individual spiritual people who can project a very large consciousness, but the point is shared consciousness, the ability to have the same goal. When we talk about timelines, 3 times, to my knowledge, the Earth has changed timelines. We're now on a fixed timeline. Sometimes that was because somebody negative tried to force us, and sometimes somebody positive put us back. But on at least one occasion, it was the consciousness of humanity that brought us back on. So consciousness is an individual, God-given, I'm using the word loosely, you could use the word creator or source. You can't measure it, but it connects with every other individual and creates a force which is unseen to most people, but literally can change reality. And if every human, done it again you see, did this last time, I know, gorgeous. Every human has this capability, but only a very small proportion of people are aware of what they can do. And part of what our role and your role is to actually show that this is what we're capable of as humans. To be truly human is being hidden from all of us. Look at some of the stuff we get on when we go on Google or YouTube. I really don't like it when you look on a topic and it says, well, let's just use Brexit. It says Brexit, all you need to know. How arrogant is that for somebody to say, you only need to know this. We will decide what you need. And if you ever meet anyone who says, well, it's all you need to know, they may be a really good person, but they don't understand the power of their words. If we're going to use it, we say all we need to know, or we don't use that. And it's an absolute giveaway of an organisation that actually has a narrative and is telling you basically, this is what we're going to tell you. You don't need to know anything other than that. And there it is in your face every time you switch it on. All you need to know. How dare somebody tell us what we want to know? We'll decide what we want to know. We'll ask the questions. Right, I think lunch is ready.
Okay. Hi guys, just before we break for lunch, when we come back to do the group work, I was just going through the list of membership and who's from where. We have a very high, as you can imagine, contingency from London, CC, and from the South East. So I need you, and then from Scotland, Wales and Ireland, I'd like you all to be in one group. So I'm going to be, after our lunch, I'm going to be trying to herd in people into their different groups and call up on a couple of different people to help me have a coordinator role. Okay, just to warn you. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much indeed. So when you finish your lunch, come back to these chairs, because Jan's going to do a 5-minute chat, a 10-minute chat with you, and then we'll go to the groups. All right, I'm not going to wait any longer. We can't afford to wait much longer, simply because we are tied in with the venue, and if we delay now, it simply means that we will have to overrun. And last year we overran. We were overrun by an hour and a half last time. So it's not that I want to cut you short, but we have to get on with this. So first of all then, Ian is sitting over the table. Over the table, and I did want to push these books simply because Becky's read them and she thought they were great. It's all about connecting consciousness. So there's one book, there's a second book there. If you've got some spare pennies, please go up and buy them. It's a good read. And I will just, I shouldn't need to say this, but I will, that Ian is not paying Connecting Consciousness any money. So I said to him that I didn't want any money from it. Whatever he sells, he keeps. We have this policy. Sometimes I let people put a link on to our website occasionally, and there's no commission paid. They don't want any money for it. So whatever they make, then it's up to them. Okay. Now I want to just bring a lady up first of all who's going to say as Ian Crane has got a talk on about 5G in, is it King's Cross? Come on then, come there.
Thank you. Thank you. I was seeing this leaflet going around about 5G and I thought maybe this is a good opportunity to just tell everyone about this talk on Wednesday evening at 7:30 in High Street, Kensington. It's Ian R. Crane. He's a remarkable man to follow on YouTube and wherever. And on Alternative View you can buy a ticket, or you can buy a ticket on the door. But I also also know that you can actually buy streaming tickets. So if you're not London-based, you can go and buy a ticket for £4, I think, if you go to Alternative View. It's well worth spending the time to get the information that he is sending out to everyone. Thank you.
That's great. I think I know Ian. It was about 4, 5, 6 years ago. I think he did a talk, and I did a talk, probably in Hull. And Ian is quite a good champion, and it's worth going to listen to. All right, thank you very much for that. Now I wanted to ask Jan to come up and talk to you a little bit about electrosensitivity. Though we are very keen on the 5G, I wanted to share a story. I'm afraid we haven't got as long as we would like, but this is very important because many of us are just aware of radiation. I don't mean nuclear radiation. We're aware of it and it might affect us a little bit with tingling or with headaches, but there are some very serious consequences. So Jan's just going to do that. It's very brave for doing this. And the reason I wanted Jan to do it is because I can't do it. I can't tell you what I think it's like. I can't say, oh, I know what that's like. I can't. I'm not going to read to you from a book, and I'm not going to read to you from a doctor's journal. It's much better that you actually meet and hear an original person. Thank you.
Hi. Just want to thank Simon for inviting me today. I've never done anything like this before, and I'm also terrified. You have to excuse me because I've got brain fog, so I might just stop talking because it's just gone completely out of my head. I just want to tell you about the effects of electromagnetic sensitivity, what it can actually do. Back in 1998, I was diagnosed with ME. I was literally bedridden. I couldn't, the light had to be out, I couldn't I was hyperventilating. I was so ill, and it lasted for months and months and months. I couldn't speak. I was literally whispering. I couldn't open my eyes. I was just in pain from head to toe. I was constantly being admitted to hospital with the pains that I was having from my head to my toe. Had to go live with my mother, had a little girl, and it affected her mental health in later years. Eventually I met an osteopath called Raymond Perrin, who was treating his patient who had ME with his manual, whatever he was doing, cranial I think it was, osteotherapy, and he found that it helped the gentleman's ME. So he started to research the condition, and took him 15 years. He worked with Manchester University Hospital, and he's now been recognised. He teaches all over England and all over the world. It's called the Penn Technique. So anyone with ME or fibromyalgia, I highly recommend him because he works miracles. It took a long time for him to get me better because I was really, really poorly. I couldn't eat, I was drip fed, I was this, that and the other. And eventually I got stronger and stronger, but it took literally years to get to where I am today. I was never happy when the doctors and the consultants didn't know what ME was. I hadn't ever heard of it before I was diagnosed with it. So I did my own research, and I was talking to people over the years who have the condition, and all of those, bar none, were electromagnetic sensitive. So I thought, well, this is weird because we've got the same symptoms as electromagnetic sensitive people. So I've come to the conclusion with the research that that's what ME is, because the symptoms and everything, they are exactly the same as electromagnetic sensitive people. Over the past 18 months, my symptoms have increased. I've got more symptoms. I've started lately with, if I go on my Kindle, I can be on it for a few minutes and immediately I feel as though I'm going to literally blow up, or from the inside. I get rashes, I get head-like pain, like vices, which I had when I first had the ME. It was really, really bad. I get nausea, I get sickness, I get twitching, I get all sorts of things. And I think it was the burning that sort of woke me up to the fact that, yeah, I'm now getting, other symptoms on top of this. So the 5G for me is like, oh my God, I feel like a canary in the mine, and people like me, and I'm obviously we're there first, we're first in line. But if people think it's not going to affect them, then they're very wrong, because I just happen to be a bit more sensitive than anybody else. But the 5G will affect everybody because it is. As well as the 1, 2, 3 and 4G, it's a completely different thing because it's a directed energy weapon system, so it works on a different frequency, and nobody will be able to escape it once the Internet of Things comes out and we're all connected, if they get their own way. Nobody will be able to escape, as I can go out the house, I can get away from the frequencies for now, but once that it is rolled out, that's not an option for me. So, this is why I'm really, really want to do something, to sort it and to try and get it stopped. So on a personal level, what I'm doing is and this is what I urge people to do. You might not think that going to your council and trying to get it stopped and it is not going to help, but I think that it's starting to happen all over Britain and the world, where people are getting 5G halted. So the thing to do is to, in your own local communities, to get groups of people together, have meetings, hold meetings, which is what I did in Torbay, where I'm from. And we got meetings and we got people on Facebook to come to the meeting, and we've got to the stage now where we're going to go to a council meeting and we're going to try and invoke what's called the precautionary principle, which halts the rollout of the 5G, and so that they have to research it, so that they can't actually roll it out because it's due to be rolled out next year apparently. Totnes, the town next to us, they've just got it halted, as Sam was saying, Brussels, and there's a lot of other places that have halted it. Because it's there's a guy called Mark Steele in Gateshead who the council tried. He's a weapons expert, and he when the lampposts, because in the lampposts that they've put up now, it's not like people think it's just lighting, but apparently it's not. But anyway, Mark managed to get one of the insides of the lamps, and he looked at it, and looking at all the circuit boards, and he realised that this was nothing to do with street lighting. It was actually a weapons grade, what they were trying to use. So he started warning people in Gateshead where he lived, saying that this is dangerous, this is 5G. The council didn't like what he was saying. They tried to gag him. They took him to court. They actually, the judge looked at all the evidence, looked at the evidence that Mark had. The councillors didn't even know what 5G was, but they were saying that they weren't rolling it out, but they didn't know what it was. To cut a long story short, Mark, they just threw it out. The judge said he had all this expertise, and the councillors didn't know anything he said. And I think that the public in general, they need to know about this, what this is really all about. So that was thrown out, and that was a win for Mark. So that's just one example of what can be done. So that's just it really, just basically to just urging everybody, because it's going to affect us all. It's just going to be absolutely horrendous. But I just feel, I'm just going to finish now, Simon, that it's actually a wake-up call for humanity. And I think we all need to get together, because it's a global thing, and we need to look at ourselves as to where we've come, what's going on. We need to stop this, and we can do it collectively. So we all need to get together, and I think this is what it's all about, because to come into our own.
Thank you very much. I think that was very useful, because we've met Mark, and he's a genuine person who has a real understanding of military technology. The word smart, you think of your smart meters, the word smart actually is literally like a smart bomb. Right, well, we're going to pass up to Becky now. She's going to sort of sort the groups out.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to add, it was a big win for Mark Steele, but it's also a big win for humanity and the wildlife and nature around, because as we know, 5G is causing problems with the birds and the bees and everything that's organic. Okay, our next thing is we're going to be doing our group work, and this is quite technically complicated, so I thought if I could ask all the coordinators to please sit themselves at a table, and then I'm going to try and invite the membership, the audience, to your local coordinator. Thank you very much.
If you were to have one place to meet, yes. I don't think it happens too often. Like we have a few Skype meetings. Something. I think what you're talking about, it might work in Edinburgh.
It depends on your local area, doesn't it? It depends on your geography.
And many people.
How it should develop, we need to like interact and maybe bring in more people who are on a similar wavelength as well. It's kind of like word of mouth, maybe spiritual areas, other groups, if you maybe go yoga, or if people do, then you can try and...
Right.
Because we've got to do, it's how we're going to develop it, so I would say that's how it's going to grow as well.
As a result, it's an automatic result, isn't it? Because the mastermind is going to be
generally speaking, what was some people are just
the point. I've got persisting venues, personal instead of a
getting knowledge.
Right, I'm going to make a start, otherwise if we just wait for everyone, nothing's going to happen. So first of all, thank you very much indeed for taking part, not just in today, but the important section, which was working with your coordinators, working with your groups, to go through the questions that I had set you, and also hopefully you had time to get to the final point, which allowed you to tell me where you saw the priorities. That's an interesting one. The other thing that I can tell you that I deliberately didn't come round to your tables, and it isn't because I don't care or I'm too important to come round, is that I did not wish to disturb you in terms of your decision making. It wasn't my role. I've had a look at the male-female split on each group, because I'm interested to see how the masculine and the feminine energies were working, and therefore when I look at all of your answers, I'll be looking to see whether there's a masculine or a feminine attached to it. So interesting, some of your groups are very balanced, same numbers of men and women, some of you more males and females, etc. So that's something that you wouldn't have even considered about, but it's very important to me because we'll look at that. Right, so I wanted to thank you all very much, because without that input, it's very hard for me to say where do we go with connecting consciousness. It just becomes my vision and my idea, and then you'll follow along. This is a vital way for us to hear what you're saying, and if possible, put it into action. Some of the things you'll have written, of course, I won't be able to, but if we can, then we'll do that. So that's very important. In terms of your journey back, that's another reason we wanted to be quite tight today, because some of you have come from North London and it's taken you 2 hours. That's quite something. So if we can wrap it up fairly soon, then we're able to go. The questions that have been brought through, what we'll do is get them on the website in some way. I can't do that quickly because it's quite a hard job, but I want to be able to feed that back to you, because in your area you know what you came up with, but you won't know what, say, the North East came up with, or whether London came up with something similar to yours. So that will be shared with you, so you'll actually have access to that, and that's very important. All right. I have to ask Becky, do you have anything that you want to just thank people for?
Yes. I do want to thank each and every one of you for coming here today. It's absolutely fantastic to see you all. I'm sorry I've not had a chance to say hello to each and every one of you individually. Those of you who I have said hello to, it's just been wonderful to connect with you, even briefly. Thank you so much for doing this group work. Even if you end up in a different group from your region, we've got some fantastic, hopefully you've had a chance to meet other CC members, and we've got some wonderful results. We will have a good look at them, write them down, and then put it back up on the website, so you will get the results. Okay, thank you everyone.
Right, so
thank
you. Yeah. Just need to say another thank you. The organisation here obviously is an organisation, and it goes under the name of Silverdyne. Silverdyne. If you'd be very kind and go on their website, and then you can just write a little testimony about how it was today for you. So you can just say what the day was like, whether you had...
Oh, sorry, not that side.
Go on, you do it. Go on, you do it. No, come on.
Okay, I'll say.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. The only request is, if you can go on Google, just search Silverdyne Packaging and give us a review. That will be very beneficial. I'm not saying that right, just your honest opinion. how was your experience? You came here first time or second time? If you like our food or whatever. So please give your honest opinion. That will be very beneficial because it's a new venture, and and our family needs your support and blessings. Thank you so much. Thanks for
Finally, each one of you, please take strength from today, because you're going to go from here, whether a group of 150, 160 of you, and you're going to go back into your own little world, as it were, and you may or may not have people next to you who can talk to you, can support you, can understand you or believe in you. And so it's really important that you form these groups, because you are special. You have broken free of the control system. That's what you are. You're free. And I would always rather know the truth, even if that truth is very bad, than be hidden and blocked and think, well, I'm quite happy really, I'm quite lucky. I'd much rather know the truth. And so you form groups, work together. I don't care whether your contribution is just putting a stamp on an envelope or whether it's running a group. As long as you do something, it's about service to others. Because all around you, you are hammered with the concept of service to self. If you serve yourself, you're doing good. We know that's not right. We need to help others, because if we help others, then we're teaching and we're showing, and actually you're enriching your own soul. It's an old adage, but actually in 10, 20 years' time, when you look at other people who were service to self, they look ready to drop. They're spiritually destroyed. And then you actually have service to others. Your strength within yourself keeps you young. So listen, I'm not even going to say a safe journey, because we don't do fear. What I'm going to say is a good journey in terms of your time. So thank you for coming here. You are very special. You're special to yourselves, you're special to the earth, and you're special to connecting consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you.